Pavan Verma, could it be, loosely put, Mandal versus Mandir once again? We saw it play out in the late 80s, 90s. It created more fractured mandates nationally. This attempt being made to reorient social engineering by the opposition. The BJP very clear, and Swapan Dasgupta mentions it, Hindutva plus. Hindutva plus, in a way, Moditva, if I may use it, Hindutva plus governance and strong leadership. Is that the battle line?
Actually, the truth. No, actually the truth, Rajdeep, is that the BJP is using Hindutva plus Mandal. This is what the opposition must understand. The BJP realized early on, because there's a think tank called the RSS, which thinks long term, whether you agree with its philosophies or not. They realized that their essential vote base is very narrow. It's the forward caste. And in a scenario of the other castes uniting on the basis of what you call social engineering, agada pichada, the BJP is at a disadvantage. So the BJP has used in the last 9 years to co-opt a large segment of the OBCs. And you could have seen it even in such puerile things as releasing a cabinet list where OBC ministers are specifically mentioned. So that attempt has been made by the BJP. Now, in the case of the opposition, social engineering by itself is not going to work unless they can offer an alternative vision for the country.
Let me say to
you that people can...
let me just stop you, because this alternative vision is coming again and again, and I just want to get specifics on that from Professor Yadav just for a minute, because you've spoken a lot about social engineering in the past. Professor Yadav, you're a great endorser of a caste census. Is this a challenge, or do you believe it is back to identity politics, or are we now in 2023-24 looking at governance? And I link that to my question which I asked, the politics of freebies. There are those who have hurt post-COVID. Maybe they were the ones who, in Karnataka, for example, didn't want a gas cylinder at 1200, was unacceptable to them. The Congress was more attractive. Is it about welfareism, governance, or is it back to identity politics? Or a bit of both?
Rajdeep, this whole thing of freebies and identity politics gets spoken only after the BJP loses election. When BJP uses caste politics to the hilt, as Pavan Verma ji has quite rightly pointed out, no one talks about identity politics. When BJP offers loan waivers and all kinds of things, everyone forgets that there is a sweet called Revdi. All this we remember only after BJP loses. But let me get more serious, specifically on the real issue. To my mind, this Karnataka victory was not a victory only of a class coalition or a Mandal thing, as I've repeatedly pointed out, and as every exit poll, including India Today exit poll, has pointed out. It's a victory of the base of the pyramid in 4 senses. Rural, urban, rural people voted massively for Congress, more than BJP, more than last time. Women voted more for Congress. In the caste terms, it was Ahinda, as you rightly pointed out. And class, let us not forget rich-poor, which is a very strong equation. So this was a vote of the base of the politics, base of the social pyramid. And for me, the lesson for the opposition is very simple. Keep your focus on the base of the pyramid. Make your message aligned with your own base, as Congress managed to do in Karnataka, and show tenacity. What about governance? Yes, governance is linked to this. Governance is looked at through this prism. The poor looks at governance in a way which is very different from the way in which, say, Ashok Malik would look at it. Infrastructure, larger questions of international stability and so on. Poor doesn't look at it. Governance is important to the poor.
We've got
but
limited time. Let him
is
respond
looked
to that.
at by the poor from their own angle.
Okay, we've got about 6 or 7 minutes, but very quickly, is that you've got the middle class, which has solidly voted for the BJP in the past in recent elections, general elections, particularly in urban India, which rewards infrastructure projects, which seems to like the idea of a strong, stable leadership. Professor Yadav is calling it a rich versus poor battle. Maybe a minimum income scheme is being talked about by the opposition.
To be fair, Yogendra has not been honest with what I said. I said that infrastructure has happened at all levels, from water in the rural households to houses for the poor to airports. So some infrastructure has touched everybody's life in different ways. I'm not making it a middle class versus not middle class. That is not what I'm saying. I quite understand that. I would like to point to one thing. Every election is multifactorial. There are many factors. Caste is there. Of course it's there. So is governance, so is leadership, so is corruption or lack of corruption, so is welfareism, so is economic hope or economic conditions. All of these matter, the relative weights change with election to election. I grant that. But while caste is important, we have empirical evidence that individual caste groups also think differently in local elections and national elections. The Vokaligas in Karnataka in 2019 thought differently in the national election and differently in the state election this time as well. The Jats in Haryana think differently. The Yadavs in UP think differently.